The film begins on a small, isolated island where a group of drug traffickers secretly uses the area to hide their illegal products. However, the police eventually discover their operation and begin preparing a raid on the island. Realizing they are about to be caught, the criminals panic and dump huge quantities of drugs into the nearby river to destroy the evidence. But this desperate decision creates a far greater disaster than they could have imagined. The chemicals spread throughout the water and begin affecting the crocodiles living in the river and surrounding swamps. Over time, the creatures mutate into enormous, bloodthirsty monsters. From that day forward, the island of Bayou becomes a living nightmare. The mutated crocodiles start attacking people on a regular basis. They no longer remain near the water and begin traveling long distances to hunt humans. As the attacks increase, fear spreads across the entire region. Among all these deadly creatures, one crocodile is especially feared. It has a distinctive black mark on its face and is considered the queen of the monsters. Meanwhile, we are introduced to the film's main character, Kyle. During a biology class, her teacher explains the behavior of crocodiles, how they hunt, and how dangerous they can become under certain conditions. We soon learn that Kyle is struggling with a painful loss. Her brother, who was the most important person in her life, has passed away. Before his death, he had one final wish. He wanted his ashes to be scattered in the river located on Bayou Island. Kyle discusses this with her friend, and together they decide to fulfill his final request. Unfortunately, that river happens to be located on the same island now overrun by mutant crocodiles. Kyle's friend decides to invite 2 additional friends on the journey. Although Kyle is not entirely comfortable with the idea, she reluctantly agrees and joins them. The group begins their trip and successfully covers part of the journey. However, they soon learn that the remaining distance can only be traveled by a small private plane. Before heading to the airport, Kyle stops at a local store to buy some water. There, she notices a newspaper warning that the crocodile threat on the island is far from over. An old man also approaches her and jokingly warns her to stay away from the crocodile with the black mark on its face. Kyle does not take his warning seriously, and the group continues toward the private airport. When they arrive, the pilot informs them that the aircraft is experiencing some technical problems. Even so, he believes the plane will be able to complete the journey safely. As the flight begins, one businessman refuses to stop talking on his phone despite repeated warnings from the other passengers. His behavior annoys everyone because he is distracting the pilot and creating unnecessary risk. Suddenly, after an argument breaks out over the phone, the aircraft experiences a violent jolt. Emergency alarms immediately begin blaring throughout the cabin, making everyone realize something is terribly wrong. Before anyone can react, the plane loses control and crashes into a river below. The passengers are thrown into the water as the wreckage sinks around them. Miraculously, most of them survive the crash. Only one elderly passenger loses his life. The remaining survivors manage to swim to a nearby island, exhausted and confused. However, they have no idea where they are or what dangers surround them. To make matters worse, one of the girls has suffered a serious injury to her arm, leaving the group in an even more desperate situation. The pilot quickly ties a bandage around the injured girl's arm and tries to calm everyone down. But then he suddenly realizes that his co-pilot has not come out of the water yet. The group starts searching everywhere in panic. After a few moments, the pilot spots the co-pilot still struggling in the river, unable to swim back to land. Without wasting a second, the pilot jumps into the water to save him. But just as he reaches close, a massive crocodile suddenly rises from behind. It opens its terrifying jaws and swallows half of the co-pilot's body in one brutal attack. Seeing this horror, the pilot somehow saves himself and rushes back to the island. Everyone is left frozen in shock. For the first time, they have seen a human being hunted right in front of their eyes, and the reality of the island's danger finally hits them. Meanwhile, Kyle's friend explores another part of the island and discovers crocodile eggs. She knows that the eggs from this island are extremely valuable, and greed immediately takes over her mind. Without telling anyone, she hides the eggs inside her bag. Back with the group, everyone is still terrified after witnessing the attack. The pilot explains that the crocodiles on this island have become extremely aggressive over the years.
Earlier, they used to attack only when they were hungry, but now, the moment they see prey, they come out only to kill. Since Kyle is a biologist, she understands animal behavior better than the others. Because of this, the group accepts her as their leader. Kyle warns them that they must find a safe place before nightfall, because once darkness falls, the crocodiles will become even more dangerous. Everyone agrees to follow Kyle's plan, except one girl who dislikes Kyle taking charge. She wants the others to listen to her instead. As the group walks through the island, the danger around them keeps increasing. Kyle asks everyone to stop and tells one of the men to start a fire. She explains that fire may help keep most wild animals away. They also decide to take turns standing guard through the night. Each person will watch for 1 hour so the others can rest safely. Later that night, it is the businessman's turn to keep watch. But instead of guarding the group, he becomes more concerned about his business and money. Hoping to get a phone signal, he walks away from the camp and moves deeper into the bushes. Unfortunately, a crocodile is already hiding there. As soon as the businessman gets close, the creature suddenly opens its massive mouth and attacks him. It catches half of his body and kills him in a horrifying way. The next morning, the survivors find his dead body and are deeply disturbed. But Kyle notices something strange. The crocodile did not eat him, even though crocodiles usually devour their prey. From this, Kyle realizes that these mutated crocodiles are not hunting because of hunger. Their hunger is already satisfied. Now, they are killing only out of aggression and madness. Soon after, Kyle spots a cabin in the distance. She tells the group they should reach it and stay there for safety while they plan their next move. The survivors carefully move toward the cabin, trying to avoid the attention of the dangerous creatures around them. They slowly get close, but suddenly, Kyle stops everyone. She has seen 3 crocodiles waiting ahead of them. Kyle quietly tells everyone to move backward slowly. But the same girl who refused to accept Kyle as the leader ignores her warning and does not step back. Within seconds, one of the crocodiles attacks her and kills her. The remaining crocodiles immediately begin chasing the others. The survivors run toward the cabin, knowing it is the closest safe place. But the crocodiles chase them with terrifying speed. During the escape, one of the creatures catches the leg of the injured girl, who had already been hurt in the plane crash. The others desperately pull her back with all their strength. After a violent struggle, they manage to drag her inside and slam the cabin door shut. The crocodiles gather outside with bloodthirsty rage, trying to force their way in. The survivors push against the door with all their strength, barely managing to keep the monsters out. Finally, they trap themselves inside the cabin, but the injured girl's condition becomes worse, and everyone realizes they are only temporarily safe. The injured girl urgently needs proper heat treatment because without medical help, she may not survive for long. But leaving the cabin before morning is almost impossible. Going outside in the darkness would be the same as inviting death. With no other option, the survivors decide to wait until morning and try to rest inside the cabin. When daylight finally comes, one of the boys wakes Kyle and shows her something important. He has found a map inside the cabin. Since he knows how to read maps, he explains that there is a building located nearby. If that building is marked on the map, there may be supplies, equipment, or some way to call for help. Kyle tells everyone that their next plan is clear. They must reach that building. But one of Kyle's friends refuses to accept her leadership. She says she will not listen to Kyle and accuses the others of making her leader for no reason. Then she cruelly reminds everyone that Kyle's brother died because of her, and asks how someone like her can save them. Hearing this breaks Kyle emotionally, and she loses confidence in herself. But the pilot immediately scolds the girl. He asks what else they are supposed to do. Kyle is at least trying to save everyone. If they simply sit there doing nothing, they will die from hunger, thirst, or the crocodiles. Even though Kyle is hurt by those words, the pilot encourages the group to make a decision. He asks everyone to vote. Either they go outside and try to survive, or they stay inside the cabin and wait to die. Most of them vote in favor of Kyle's plan, so the group prepares to leave for the building. Even the girl who opposed Kyle has no choice but to follow the others. Before stepping outside, Kyle explains how they can defend themselves if a crocodile attacks. She tells them not to simply pull their body parts away because that could make the injury worse. Instead, they must try to force something into the crocodile's mouth and hurt it enough to make it open its jaws. She also warns them about the most important rule. They must stay above the water at all costs. If a crocodile drags them underwater, survival becomes almost impossible. After preparing makeshift weapons, the group finally leaves the cabin and follows the map toward the building. But soon, they reach a river blocking their path. To continue forward, they must cross it, even though the water is filled with crocodiles. Kyle and the others decide to build a raft so they can cross the river without stepping directly into the water. Some of the group members worry that the crocodiles may attack the raft, but Kyle explains that crocodiles usually stay lower in the water during extreme heat to cool themselves. Trusting her knowledge, they begin building the raft. But while they are working, Kyle's friend notices a crocodile approaching them. Panicking, she attacks and kills it with her weapon. This turns out to be a terrible mistake. The The death of one crocodile attracts several more, and they arrive in anger. Kyle realizes her earlier prediction was wrong because these mutated crocodiles are not behaving like normal animals. Before the creatures can attack, the survivors quickly climb onto the raft and push themselves into the river. But the crocodiles follow them into the water, surrounding the raft from all sides. Everyone knows these monsters are powerful enough to overturn the raft easily. If that happens, none of them will survive. The group desperately tries to move forward, but the raft is heavy and every second feels like death is getting closer. At that moment, the badly injured girl realizes the others may not survive unless someone distracts the crocodiles. With tears in her eyes, she looks at everyone one last time, especially her husband. Then, without hesitation, she jumps into the river, sacrificing herself to save the group. Her husband is devastated and tries to jump after her, but the pilot grabs him and holds him back. As the crocodiles attack the injured girl, the others get the chance they desperately needed. Using her sacrifice, the survivors manage to move the raft forward and escape across the river. By the time the survivors reach the building, only 5 people are left alive. As soon as they enter, the pilot realizes that the place belongs to a drug mafia. Pills and drugs are scattered everywhere, making it clear that this is not an ordinary building. This is the same place shown at the beginning of the film where the criminals dump drugs into the water. Because of those drugs, the crocodiles on the island mutated into monsters. Now the survivors understand that even before the crocodiles, this island was already dangerous because of the criminals who once operated here. The pilot warns everyone to move carefully, but the same girl who dislikes both Kyle and the pilot ignores his warning and walks ahead on her own. The group decides to split into pairs and search the building for any device that can help them call for rescue. The pilot and Kyle's other friend follow the stubborn girl. The pilot tells Kyle's friend to go inside and check the room while he looks around, but in reality, he wants to confront the girl privately. He tells her that she is selfish and only thinks about herself. In his anger, he says people like her should be the first to die. Then, in a shocking moment, he pushes her down from the walkway. The girl manages to grab onto the stairs and hangs there helplessly. She begs the pilot to save her and apologizes in fear. Seeing her struggle, the pilot starts realizing the terrible mistake he has made. But before he can pull her up, a crocodile suddenly appears and attacks him. It drags him away, leaving the girl screaming in terror. Hearing her screams, the others rush to the spot and bring her down safely. Completely shaken, she explains how the crocodile attacked the pilot and took him away. The incident breaks her from the inside. After everything that has happened, the girl finally realizes her mistake. She apologizes to the entire group, especially Kyle, for treating everyone badly during such a dangerous situation. But the survivors still do not know the worst truth. The building they have entered contains even more crocodiles than the river. These creatures have come here because of the drugs stored inside, proving that the mutated crocodiles have become addicted to the same chemicals that created them. When the group sees so many crocodiles inside the building, fear takes over again. On the other side of the creatures, they notice a room with a radio inside.
Kyle says they must reach that room without making any noise because, for now, the crocodiles are sleeping. One by one, the survivors slowly move forward. But the boy who had found the map accidentally steps on a crocodile egg, making a small noise. That tiny mistake costs him his life. The crocodiles immediately wake up, attack him, drag him underwater, and kill him. The remaining 4 survivors rush into the radio room and close the door behind them. Trapped inside, they are shaken and confused, unable to decide what to do next. Kyle forces herself to stay strong and quickly turns on the radio. Luckily, it still works. She immediately sends a desperate message saying they are trapped and need help. But before they can receive any response, the radio malfunctions again. Their small hope disappears in seconds. They realize staying inside the room is not safe. If no rescue team heard the message properly, nobody will know where they are. One of them says they must leave immediately. As soon as they step out, they come face to face with the most dangerous crocodile on the island, the Queen. She has the black mark on her face. Seeing her, Kyle immediately remembers the old man's warning about staying away from the one with the black mark.
The queen slowly moves closer, staring directly at them. Kyle's friend suddenly understands why the creature has been following them. She opens her bag and takes out the crocodile eggs she stole earlier, placing them in front of the queen. But the queen no longer wants only the eggs. Along with the eggs, she catches Kyle's friend's hand in her mouth, lifts her into the air, swings her violently, and throws her against the wall. To protect herself, Kyle grabs a gun she found inside the building and fires at the creature. But the attack does not seriously harm the crocodile. Instead, it only makes the queen even angrier. The monster now turns toward Kyle, ready to kill her. Meanwhile, the remaining survivors use the opportunity to escape from behind. One of the boys carries Kyle's injured friend and gets her away from the danger. As the queen charges toward Kyle, she thinks fast. Using her presence of mind, Kyle grabs a sharp object lying nearby and stabs the crocodile directly in the eye. The queen begins thrashing in pain, giving Kyle the chance she needs to escape from the room. Kyle is filled with rage and grief. Almost everyone who came with her has died, and the guilt inside her becomes unbearable. First, she could not save her brother, and now she has failed to save her friends as well. Unable to control her pain, Kyle decides to destroy the place that caused all this horror. She sets the building on fire, trapping many of the crocodiles inside. As the flames spread, the mutated creatures begin burning and dying within the same drug-filled building that created them. After this, the remaining survivors finally escape from the place. But the danger is not completely over, because they know there are still many crocodiles spread across the island. None of them are sure whether they will truly make it out alive. Just when all hope seems lost, they suddenly see a helicopter flying toward them. The radio message they sent earlier had been received, and the rescue team was able to trace their location from that signal. Finally, the 4 remaining survivors are rescued from the island. Several weeks after the terrifying incident, Kyle is shown recovering from the trauma. She is much better than before and has slowly started taking care of herself again. Later, she visits another island to honor her brother's memory and fulfill his final wish. This time, she is alone, carrying the pain of everything she lost, but also the strength to keep moving forward. In the post-credits scene, the story returns to Bayou Island. Inside the same building where the crocodile attack happened, the pilot is suddenly shown alive. His face carries deep marks from the crocodile attack, and his body looks strangely different. This mysterious scene suggests that something unnatural has happened to him, leaving the ending open for a darker continuation. And with this mystery, the movie comes to an end.